Hello there. I didn't see you. Ha ha ha. Oh, yeah. I use the word free a lot. And in the deepest recesses of my being, which uh, owes its existence to my non being, they hold hands and walk relatively, walk through everything and nothing together. I maintain this most true definition of free and its cousin, freedom, as a transitory state. This is because free and freedom exist conceptually only in relation to not free. And we'll say slavery. Let's give not free a word too. Expensive. Or cheap. Priced. Ooh, yeah. So free exists only in the realm of the priced. Freedom exists only in the realm of the enslaved. Makes sense. But what's hard to grasp is a realm in which neither nor exist. Because of all that we must take for granted to relate to the world of each other. The world that, whether we're aware of our choice in the matter or not, we've been born into. Aware or not of the choice, like we have no choice. And before I go further, nobody chooses to be a slave. When you're enslaved, but you chose slavery, you know in the deepest relative aspects of your being in the now moment of your life that you are free. And in that way, like I kind of abstractedly, because it could only be as such, described as beyond or transcendental to the concept of free or enslaved. I like to consider myself as one that treads the line between those two, because I have always taken the utmost responsibility of my beingness, unrelated to anyone or anything else that I see as outside myself. And so increasingly, more and more, as I develop my sense intangibility of my ever expanding and contracting, breathing internal environment. But also there's a part of me, maybe it's like the most physical, most beastly, most egoic, and I love the ego. It's part of it's a phase of our makeup that revolts against enslavement in any and all forms. It's like the grudgingly agreeing aspect of souledness. It's like, fine, I see what you're doing here, and I agree ultimately, but I do not agree to like it. It's like, actually, that's part of why we're doing it. Thank you. I love you. Yes, I know. I love you too. Let's do this. The conversation between my ego and my life. Hi, I'm Elliot. And I am a self-professing, self-proclaimed representation of creation's adversarial aspect to no choice. Fuck you. You want me to be good? I'm gonna be evil. Fuck you. Want me to be evil? I'm gonna be good. It's true. And I willingly admit it because, and I always willingly admit it, because as an aspect of my adversarial excitement, whether it's evil or good, relatively to me, it's always the side I want to be on. It's always the side I believe in. It's always the side that I ascertain as being the underwolf, the return to dynamic equilibrium. I hate equal, I love equilibrium. Because the in the end is prophetic to a continuum. And because I love stating obvious things, we are transitioning from a world that's like so fucking evil, not filled with evil. A slave master can have countless slaves, but be a singular slave master. And the slaves are all, relatively good people or abused people that have turned towards evil, not become, but turned towards, because it's in their best choice from their perception or perceptive perspective, to be freeing or to be towards, besides their own soulful representation of creation, in their own way, a vector towards the balancing equilibrium. Because none of us are separate from that principle of, I want to say, love. And I also mean an intrinsic aspect of existence. Because let's say balance is 1-to-1. We could also say balance is 100-to-1. You could make up any sides of a ratio and decide that that is the balancing equilibrium of a best state, right? in the same way that we viewed that slave master relationship. Just to put it in like a more simple frame, one of those truisms is that, you can't have light without dark, can't have good without evil. And a grand misperception to the weightedness of that ratio is the fallacy and downright deception of equality. There's no such thing as equality. Equality is evil, except as a representation of abstract concepts of that are mathematical. And mathematics is largely evil. But I won't get into that too much right now. Just sharing. Like 1 + 1 = 2. Sure. We're defining a argument with terms that are defined by the argument. Outside of the argument, they don't exist. Outside of 1 + 1 = 2 as a mathematical argument, that is not a true statement. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1, if we want to use that equal term in as best we can outside of mathematical context, 1 + 1 = 1 + 1. And that's stupid. Elliot = Elliot. Well, yeah. So, equality, stupid. And a tool for manipulation towards the ends of evil. So back to that kind of simple frame, the illusion of the light and dark needing each other to exist, and the good and evil needing each other to exist, is the illusion of like equal mass, when that isn't true. Let's put ourselves in a room together. We can be in the room together, or I can be in a room and you can be in a room. And we will place a light. Fuck it. Let's get spiritual. We'll place the light within us so we glow. Now, the room, we are so bright that all is lit with our light. Can you see the room? If you can, make your light brighter until whatever you constitute as bright light is so bright that all you see is that brightness. Make it endless. So the walls, the room disappears. Right. It's like, well, now it's nothing. Fuck you, bright light. You've taken away my everything. We could do the same thing with darkness. Light is not bright or dark alone. Bright and dark describe light, which is part of my adversarial and steadfast delineation of language use. That like light versus dark is a mass manipulation to separate that which is inseparable. You can't, there is no light without dark, because dark is light. If we were describing light, it can be bright or dark. So now back to our room. Turn the fucking lights down. Enough that you can see a wall, which means it must be closer to you. But you can also look in a direction and not see a wall. You assume a wall, and it's neither here nor there, your assumption. I love it when we make asses of you and me. But now we have a relationship. Turn the bright up, and the wall that's closer becomes more distinguished. But so long as there's a corner, a recess, like a cave, but only to your perception of darkness, which is to say, a direction in which light goes and does not come back. Until by the time it comes back, it has lost its energy so as to maintain itself through like longer waveforms represented as less bright light, darkness. As long as there's a little bit of darkness, that wall closest to you, it might fucking hurt to look at, but it never disappears. Now, in your imagination, make the brightness in the darkness in the room balanced. I'm not going to describe how. What does that mean to you? Just try it. And I'm not going to say don't think about it, because that's a stupid thing to say. But let it happen. And then we're going to take a moment. I'm going to listen. And if you feel up for it, verbalize, because it changes your relationship to things, which means us and everything, to verbalize it. Like actually say it out loud. And I'm going to listen. Good. I won't cut you off. I love it. Can you see your body? Can you see like your own shadow? By the way, I'm not like, this isn't like a thing I've like done before or used before. We're making this up as we go along. Like all good things. And unlike evil things. But that's cool. Thank you for sharing with me. I don't do this kind of exercise often, asking you to actually just talk to me with your voice, but our connection is so strong so as to become unstable. Makes sense. I'll try to remain stable. Let me put this down. So notice how kind of known that balance was to your being, but also kind of hard to describe the point at which we'll say it's like out of 100, 50-50, right? It's like the room is half lit and half shadowed. Now, if it's not so bright that you can't see the walls because it's an equal darkness, then how do you know that there's a balance of like the 50-50? And then if it is just bright enough so as to see through the shadow to the walls, how can we ascertain that the light that is passing through what we're calling dark, which is really just less dark, creates that like balanced equilibrium? There's no answer, but we don't take on quests simply for the answer, right? Those quests fail. It's the adventure. Questions are adventurous. Switching gears a little bit, because now that we have this kind of that existential experience within us, I've been driving an automatic car for about a year, coming from driving manual, and I fucking love driving, manual. I still drive manual even though I'm driving automatic, but it's just a further reach. And so I got distracted by the joy of it by saying that. Changing gears. Yeah. I just clutched with my right foot. That's different. Being in North America must be part of some part of my ever-present past and future. Yay! Okay, so let's switch gears. Coming back to like the topic a little bit, but not a lot, just a little bit. There's a reason that I bracketed the relative and the hour in the topic, post, title, share, whatever. Because brackets are often used to kind of be inclusive despite. You know, it's like, I was like this little part, like don't let it like fuck with your stream, although it might add to the stream. I don't know, just like it's like a whisper. Which I'm not contesting, but the reason that I used them in this title is because it's the room, right? The relatively what's free. And now I'm going to use the perfect example that gave me rise to do this post without extending it into the future. I'm like, I want to connect with the fam. I'm really awesome, divine, miraculous, beautiful things are happening in my life. And so I'm kept like wonderfully present with active or purposeful actions. That'll become more succinct in time, but I'm never busy. And I fuck busy with my fist. Yeah, whatever. So, you know, like I'm doing things that are lovely. And so it's taken me away from posting. It feels like longer than it has been. But anyways, I just want to connect with you guys. And share everything I just described with yours so as to become more true. because it's not separate. We are doing this together. It's fucking awesome. You kick ass. Even if you suck, because I can't control who watches this, and somebody that sucks watches this. But even though you suck, you're fucking still kicking ass. You just keep sucking. I don't know. And I know a lot. The key to knowing a lot is that you never have to. Just do it for the fun. Yeah. Movies, music, and the whole like paying for it. Now, there was like a structural illusion in time where like, yeah, man, like you want to watch a movie at home, you gotta have a TV, you gotta have VHS. There's like lots of processes that go into creating the film and like the resources, and then the more movies that you make and distribute, the more actual resources. I'm going to take that away. Where the more limited by virtue of composite densities those resources are, i.e., like a VHS, the frame of it, the film of it, the act of putting it all together, the data as represented as like it's like magnetic strips, so like that technology and that encoding all takes kind of like each takes its own more time. So fine, whatever. It's like the chains or like the little baby steps of like having us put our own enslavement collars on. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then it's like, wait, this doesn't make sense. But oh shit. And here we are, where it makes less sense. Stating the obvious. Which, yeah, okay, let's go. Download a movie, yo. Download a song. Distribute that shit to everyone. And the marginal cost is like nil to do that for one person and everyone. The most common, and I want to say appropriate argument to that level of distribution, and so argument for paying for things, is actually, which occurred, like this is the pharmaceutical game too. It's like it costs stuff to make this happen, you know? It's only free because y'all have computers. It's only free because y'all have phones. It's only free because those actors, those actresses, those musicians, they put everything all into their da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like, you're right. So it's not free. But now you're just manipulating us. Because how it's not free is not what we're paying with. You're like, it's not free in time and resources and energy, but instead of paying for time and energy and resources to we'll call it those banks of said resources, you're going to pay for it with this conceptual other thing, money, which doesn't actually go to refill those banks. Well, where does it go? Does it at least go to the banks of like the personas, the egos of those creators? No, it doesn't. But like, we pay for movies, we pay for music. That money goes to the musicians and the actors and the actresses. No, it doesn't. No, it's removed. The illusion of connection is all that is. They're not really connected. Because they're each, unless distributing in their own relative frame freely. They're all intertwined in the money market distribution system, which is to say, like, you got a record label, this is hot, blah 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 blah. I don't want to get into it because it's not important, but you get my point. And hopefully, by not wanting to get into it, you get my also point. Interesting. Which is that we can play that game of everything coming from something. If we play it an inch, we play it a mile. Take it a little bit, take it all the way. It's from other people, it's from our past, it's from all past. All resources come from the earth. We come from the earth. And if what we pay doesn't go back to the earth, then we're paying as an instrument of enslavement. I just want to take this a little more, I want to take a more direct turn away from the obvious cliche and towards the active and the util, which is my way of saying useful. Bear with me and chill, or join me in like a 2-minute meditation, because I'm asking myself to, and you're still with me. So. And if you're not quite sure what meditation means, then that's totally appropriate, because a good meditator always keeps that quest ongoing. Make it up. Don't forget your breath. Forgive your breathing. In your quest to breathe. Be breathed. Okay, 5 to 10 more breaths, depending on the length of yours. Now, as you prefer, pause and continue and come back into our now when it's you feel ready, you want to. You're always ready. Or take 3 more breaths. Thank you for joining me for that. It's very lovely. So now at minute 36:58, let's be succinct, but Elliot style, which is to say, fuck me, that's a lot. Everything can be free in terms of a price. Depending on how you experience, depending on how you look at it. Not in terms of price, but in terms of source, which all sources are resources, right? If that makes sense, like the one source. Everything that is a composite made up of aspects of source that have been resourced into something else, and so become a source in and of itself, a resource. Everything is composed of resources. So nothing is free. In terms of resources, everything can be earned, exchanged by way of balancing dynamic equilibrium with its own kind. So unlike paying for resources with the unrooted conception of money, which is disconnected, and so not kind. Everything can be exchanged like gifts, and must be for there to be balance and life. Living as opposed to dying, as opposed to killing. If we observe the less self-aware aspects of nature, like the animal kingdoms, the plant and animal kingdoms, we can observe this exchanging of gifts more superficially, closer to the surface, where the balance between brightness and darkness creates a clarity of visibility from our observation point. With self-awareness, self-consciousness, consciousness of self, an aspect of transiting between not being conscious of self and being conscious of self, which is to say, like the end of the portion of the adventure quest of self-consciousness isn't to know that you are what you are, but to know, to be consciousness of whatever self is, until you can put self in a room and make relative distinctions between self-consciousness within you and whatever you weren't aware of previously, but has become visible in your awareness by virtue of the growth and evolution of your self-consciousness. To say that you are self-aware is not enough for self-consciousness until you are aware, you are self-aware, and you're aware of also something that self-awareness made visible that you didn't know before. In this way, each of us, and I really mean everyone, and I love distinguishing groups of individuations, but I'm not doing that right now. I'm saying everyone. Everyone in this way is inherently, intrinsically, divinely brought into nowness. Rich. Because your unlimited resource is that which is within you. That when given no choice, still finds its way into your actions. And in the world we're leaving, the paradigm, which is paradigm is a way of thinking that shapes an entire thing that it's shaping. It has caused much pain sometimes to admit that aspect of yourself. To the dismay of our souls, there are many that disdain this aspect of themselves and see it as an evil, as something that must be subdued or medicated away because it causes pain. And because of where there is no choice, as opposed to a preferred choice, even unconscious, it can make you want to die. Not because you want to do it. It can be less known than that. Maybe because it makes you suffer and you don't know why. Everyone has, everyone is this unlimited resource. And when given the environment, either entirely self-created or introduced to by virtue of love and loving relationships, which, because it's old paradigm illusion, can easily be shared, conveyed, exchanged via gift between what we call strangers. I don't know you, you don't know me. But it can still be invited, this allowance. Let's get a little 3D. We like our music, we like our movies, and we need these things to experience them. The movie players, the music players. If we did not have them, how would we experience them? I said 3Dness, so I'm not decidedly not taking this abstract. Whatever you're watching me on now, whatever you listen to your music on now, isn't going anywhere. Which is to say, it's been paid for, and what has been paid for, we don't need to keep paying. Right? To envision, imagine, and create a new, which is to say, we've always known it in the deepest aspects of ourselves, world that we believe in. It does not mean doing away with everything and all the things. I find that when people try and imagine a utopia, it's like, but what are we going to do? Like, who's going to make the cars? Who's going to make the TVs? It's like, well, we have a lot of TVs. We have a lot of cars. I reckon if another one is never made again, and we just learn to keep them going, which isn't to say that that's the avenue. I'm just, we'll be just fine. And I invite you, just in case, to explore how you could agree with me if you can't. I think that you can't in this moment. Just for fun. Although I reckon that you do agree with me. In the exchanging of gifts, in the exchanging of resources in kind, what we are on the precipice of because we are emergent is a gift that, like all gifts, has like been persistently ready to be given, impossible for Hiftu by virtue of the lack of awareness of the resource exchange. That was a little complex, just my preference. But to put it more simply, because we have that as a background, as an individual, as a people, as a world, we are coming into gifts that have that we didn't know existed. Because the way that we've been managing our own resources have excluded us from the awareness of these gifts. Okay. Birthdays, Christmas are the big ones. Anniversaries. All these occasions for commercial gift exchange. And then as an aspect of inclusion, weekends. Okay. This is the world we live in. And what's readily available, we just didn't know, in all of those different like echelons of relating, individual, cosmic, between, nothing. Imagine a world where every day that is not a birthday, an anniversary, a Christmas, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa. It's like nobody fucking practices Kwanzaa. We just fucking use Kwanzaa as like a fun word to say. I know, I'm the same, it's okay. Kwanzaa, I know, use that's Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa. Anyways, every day that is not one of those days, and all the days that aren't weekends, make those days in which gifts are exchanged. Make all the weekdays into weekends. And then what were holidays or whatever, what were the weekends, like we're just reversing them. So what is done on those days, reverse them. We're not done. But like, now I really imagine that this is not even just possible, past possible, like this is appropriate and the order. Now, relax, it's like enforcement, right? Because like all these cultural norms are enforced, the collective agreements and shit. So relax that a little bit. And then add to this imagining that the gifts that are now fucking being exchanged like all the fucking time are not paid for with money, obviously, because who can afford that? But instead, paid for by whatever you can imagine is what you do for a living, which isn't a job. It is work. And it's what you choose to do. It can be anything. As like the most absurd example, all you want to do is eat, sleep, and watch Netflix. That can be part of your exchange. It can be entirely your exchange. There's no rules around this. Around this. And then 5 days a week, 2 days a week, what were the weekends are now the weekdays, right? So like 2 days a week. Imagine that those 5, there's like a collective agreement to fucking take it easy. Because weekends don't even mean days off anymore. But now these 5 days do. And there's a collective shared agreement where like, even when it's the thing that you love the most and you're like, you want to be doing it all the time, during the week, friends, family, love is kind of like, take it down a notch. And 2 days a week, it can be said that the collective agreement is for you to spend the largest part of your the waking aspect of your day. The chief opportunity of this little thought experiment is to just introduce to us this emergent paradigm thought leaders, emotional leaders, because thought leaders isn't a thing. Thought leaders are a thing. Even feeling leaders are a thing. But feeling leaders are powerful in their energy, but can make no impact because there's no form. It's radiation. It goes everywhere. And because it goes everywhere, it goes nowhere, except its closest, most immediate vicinity. And thought leaders are dangerous because the subtlety of thought form can be most easily distributed irresponsibly. Both are chiefly irresponsible, but alone. And but it has no power, so it's not going to go anywhere. But why it's dangerous isn't inherent just because of the old paradigm with all of these superficial structures of connection. You can take something that has no power in and of itself connect to a power grid, which is basically taking advantage of the energy supplied by others who aren't supplying the thoughts, who are supplying the feelings, because that's power, that's energy, but not allowed to make the choice between what thought gets power and what feeling gets form. Right? That's the power grid. That's why thought leaders can be so dangerous. It's through the structures of mental manipulation, emotional manipulation, because emotions are the synergy between feelings and thoughts. If I'm just speaking simply about complex things, you can have no awareness of your emotions truly, no mastery, which is to say self-awareness and self-choice, guiding, leading the expression of your thoughts and feelings. You can have no emotional mastery, is what I'm saying, but someone that does can see your emotions that you don't see and share their vision with you, or they can control what is done with those emotions. And so we live in a structurally enslaving system of emotional hijacking. But that same system can be subverted and I don't want to say overthrown, but like repurposed by those with emotional mastery, i.e. us. The opportunity of that last little thought, emotional mastery. Oh yeah, that's how we got there. Experiment was, I don't know, not while I was doing it, except that it felt natural. But looking back at it, was to share between us how radical seeming, yet realistically reasonable, the possibility of such a paradigm is. My adversary is the active to the world's obscene laziness. And it's not the laziness that the mainstream would have us think is lazy. What are you doing just sitting? What are you doing just chilling? What are you doing not working? Why aren't you producing? That's not fucking lazy. That's living. Fuck you. What's lazy is all the limiting thoughts, all the limiting ideas, and that their ideas in and of themselves are limitless, but the ideas themselves are like functionally limiting. Like, you know, like as a child, why is the world why is the world like this? Why is there war? Why do we have to work? Like, these are questions that I would ask. I don't even care about war because that has always been such a far removed thing in this time frame, and relatively I have lots of experience with it. soulfully. But the answer,
Just cause. That's just the way it is.
that is so lazy. Because I'm like 7. And the amount of books that I've read aren't what it's going to be, which is like a fuck ton, and mostly include Hardy Boys and books about like kids playing baseball. And I can imagine a grossly better world. Or at least one that makes sense. At least one with answers to these things. You know, it's like not even fucking crazy. It's like, why do we have these things? But why there should be answers that can be known. Duh. And then to the furthest extent of like faith is believing in a God that you can't see, but you know is there. You know, God exists. You can't know him. But if you believe, God will represent itself in your life. Death. You can't know what happens after death until you die. Because you're alive and then you're dead. That's lazy. I can imagine a God that could create a world, an existence, or whatever, and then by virtue of its like godliness or whatever, be like, have the capacity to be like, hi, Elliot, I'm God. I love you. It's nice to do this. Yada, yada, yada. And dreaming. Where am I? Hey, Elliot. It's me, God again. This is this is death. When you're not in your physical body, when it dies, it's this. I'm not saying it is. I'm just making this up. It's like, oh, cool. But wait a second, God, what am I again? It's like, Elliot, you are a wise and beautiful creature. I fucking love you. That part, they can't quite remember. That's the part that's only alive. Which is to say, it's precious and important and isn't eternal. When it dies, it'll be gone forever. And before it was alive, it never was quite like it was. And this, what you're experiencing now, are different like ways of always. So yeah, anyways, God, realm, after death, and before life. Oh, and you're dreaming.
What?
Wait. Oh, that was awesome. Right. And then in closing, we deserve, as movie makers, as musicians ourselves. Maybe you don't make movies. Maybe you don't consider yourself a musician. But just imagine that whatever you feel alive doing is a kind of music and a kind of movie. All of us, as creators, are deserving of the opportunity of gift exchanging, but I want to like keep it on the side of just receiving, just having uh, that which we want in accordance with the happiness of our environment. You know, I've never seen Gremlins. It's true. I'm an 80s baby and I've never seen Gremlins. Parts of it and whatnot. And I'm not, I had fear of things stripped away from me at a very young age. Uh, so it's not like I was scared, but like it never happened. And I want to see it. Like, I would enjoy watching that today. And to do that, I have to jump through all kinds of hoops, find some streaming service, and then I don't know, those streaming services, they like change their websites all the time to avoid blah blah blah. And then I have to find like a good connection, a good quality, and